It's Friday, December the 7th, and this is your Barbados Today Evening News Update. So glad you could join us. I'm Emmanuel Joseph. Top in the news at this hour, the Barbados government today got an A grade from the International Monetary Fund team for its efforts to turn around the ailing economy. At the end of his staff visit here today, head of the missions, Bert Van Sem, said the implementation of the Barbados Economic Recovery and Transformation Plan was off to an excellent start. He cited the upsurge in the international reserves to $500 million this month, which at the end of May had plummeted below international benchmark standards to 5 or 6 weeks of import cover at $220 million. The IMF also gave the thumbs up to government's local debt restructuring exercise, saying that this has helped to reduce economic uncertainty and create much needed fiscal space. Van Sem, however, urged the Mia Motley administration to complete the process of debt restructuring with the island's external creditors. The IMF team also noted that the ongoing restructuring exercise in the public sector was the right move, saying it helps not only to reduce the public sector wage bill, but it facilitates private sector-led growth. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Motley welcomed the good news, thanking Barbadians for their sacrifice.
I think when you read it, all Barbadians will feel proud that we've made good progress. The adjective that they use in the first sentence without going any further into it is the word excellent start. And let me say, thank you for the applause, but the applause is really for the country, because we could not be here unless everybody agreed to do this journey together.
She was speaking at a CIBC First Caribbean Barbados Client Economic Forum at Sandals, Barbados, where she engaged in a wide-ranging discussion on the economy with President of the Barbados Economic Society, Shane Lowe. Lowe agreed there is progress, but there's much work ahead.
The economic situation is still challenging, but certainly improving, albeit slowly. There are a number of issues to tackle, like I mentioned. One is earning more foreign exchange in a sustainable way, so that we don't have to depend as much on borrowing going forward to build our reserves. And that involves extracting more value added from tourism, but also finding a way to extract more value from earnings of investments overseas.
To the law courts now. President of the Prison Officers Association of Barbados, Trevor Browne, was today released on $1,000 bail as he appeared in the District C Magistrates Court this morning on 4 charges related to sedition or mutiny at Her Majesty's Prison Dodds, St. Philip. Browne, who is accused of maliciously endeavoring to seduce 4 other prison officers from their duties, pleaded not guilty to all the charges. He will return to court on February the 18th next year. Browne, who is being represented by attorney Andrew Pilgrim QC, emerged from the courtroom with the Prison Officers Association's Industrial Relations Consultant, Senator Caswell Franklin, who spoke on his behalf.
Mr. Browne has been fighting for the prison officers, and people want to stop him.
Meanwhile, the Congress of Trade Unions and Staff Associations of Barbados is throwing its full support behind the president of the Prison Officers Association. Now, just as Browne was granted bail at the District C St. Matthias Magistrates Court, CTUSA President Edwin O'Neill described the development as unfortunate.
Like you, we are awaiting a full and formal brief because we cannot intrude into the judicial or investigative process. And it is my understanding that at this stage that is happening.
At the same time, CTUSA's General Secretary Dennis DePisa noted Browne's arrest was uncharted territory for the labor movement.
This particular development is unprecedented in the history of the labor movement in Barbados. So therefore, something like this, especially as this came out with you, CTUSA doesn't have an immediate response to that. What we have to do right now is to be more concerned about our member organization, both the individual member of the organization. And our work now is to try to get a handle on what has happened, what are the developments, and to see how we can give support to our member organization and our member leader at this time. But we will respect the process and give us the opportunity not to critique what there is by law, but because we don't want to go into what law is what the law is, but what the circumstances are, we will not know what they are. So let's get that matter resolved before we make any further comment.
In other news now, at the height of government's restructuring exercise, there's word that more Barbadians are interested in working abroad. Word of this from Labour and Social Partnership Relations Minister Colin Jordan as he held a press conference this morning. He told the reporters that the Barbados Employment Career Counseling Department has seen an increase in the number of people exploring opportunities to travel and work.
We have been exploring possibilities. As a matter of fact, we have had interviews in the ministry not very long ago in relation to, I think, both a hotel overseas as well as what we traditionally call the Farm Labour Program, which is the seasonal agricultural workers program in Canada. We actually had a review meeting 2 or 3 weeks ago in St. Lucia, where we discussed, and Barbados made its position very clear that we wanted to make sure we had opportunities for those persons who may want to leave Barbados and, seek employment outside of Barbados. We recognize, even though we don't want a brain drain, we recognize that we live in what is now a cliche, a global village, and persons will want to have experiences, work experiences outside of Barbados. People will want to have work experiences wherever those work experiences are.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Barbados Today, news you can trust.
Welcome back with news from the region now. Media houses in Jamaica are reporting that Buju Banton has been released from prison after 8 years at the McCrae Correctional Institution in the United States. An officer at the institution said the entertainer, whose given name is Mark Myrie, was let out earlier today. The United States Embassy in Kingston is tight-lipped about when the reggae superstar will be returned to the country. 45-year-old Buju, a Grammy Award-winning entertainer, was convicted of drug trafficking on February 22, 2011 in Tampa, Florida, 12 days after the retrial of his case began. His initial release date was set as February 2019, but was later revised to December 8, 2018. And on the international front, France hunkered down for another wave of potentially violent protests on Saturday as embattled President Emmanuel Macron planned to address the nation next week over public fury at the high cost of living.
Paris is braced for a fourth weekend of potentially violent demonstrations, with shuttered businesses and extra security a feature of what protesters are calling Act 4. The Yellow Vest movement, which grew out of opposition to government fuel tax hikes, seemingly hijacked by more extreme and diverse fringe groups. Macron's administration wants to prevent a repeat of last weekend's scenes, the worst rioting for half a century in the French capital, with cars and buildings set alight. 89,000 police are on duty over the weekend, 8,000 in Paris alone.
Yes, I'll be closed on Saturday, that's for sure.
Bustling ordinarily, shops, museums and restaurants aren't opening and sports events are cancelled. That includes tourist hotspots like the Eiffel Tower and the Musée d'Orsay. President Macron is due to address the nation early next week to reassure them he is listening to the people's anger, according to his ministers. This week's U-turn on fuel tax hikes has had limited effect on the demonstrators, which are now much more of a broad rebellion about education, salaries and pensions.
And that's news, but for the very latest, visit our website at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, or like us on Facebook, and sign up for breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We are also on Izumi Media in bus terminals, as well as screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. Now, you can also hear us on Mix 96.9 FM. I'm Emmanuel Joseph. Have a fantastic weekend.